for me as a mid-20 person figuring out, don't know what in my life, don't know who I am, don't know what I want to be.
Yes.
And some of the people in the question list here too, we have how to sense, make and thrive in your 20s, firstly, and how does that change in your 30s and 40s?
I love that question because I have this like pet theory and I love like selling my pet theory to people and seeing if it links. Okay, but this is based on like my own thinking about my own observation of my own life, right? And what I see in others. I think that the 20s is a decade, and I think of my life in decades, but I think the 20s is this decade of identity formation, and that means it will be quite turbulent by nature. It is the first time that you are tasting adulthood proper. In the Asian context, you're still trying to escape the household that you're in. So there is a huge tug of war between like the child that I am growing out of and the adulthood I'm trying to grow into, and yet I don't know which adult identity am I trying to grow into, right? So it's almost like this little caterpillar trying to like, I don't even know what cocoon I want to be. You know? So it's turbulent. And I think because of that, I think 20-somethings can give themselves some grace for the mistakes that would naturally happen. I don't think that is an excuse to deliberately make mistakes. But I think when you do make the mistakes, and some of them can be pretty big ones, to not be too hard on yourself, but to recognize maybe some of the biggest mistakes you made in your 20s are because you don't know who you are. And the good thing out of even the very, very bad things that happened to you or that you did in your 20s, they can be the lessons, hard lessons that you may need to learn about, this is who I am, or, this is not who I am, and this is not who I want to be. Yeah, so I think the best hopes of the 20s is that by the time you turn into the 30s decade is do some self-work and like learn all the hard lessons that your 20-somethings was trying to teach you, your 20-something years, and turn those into wiser choices in your 30s. And the bad news is in your 30s, you might still shock yourself and, oh my goodness, why am I still making the same mistake? You know, I thought I learned this lesson a long time ago. And that might still happen because remember, you're still growing into your adultness. So what you want to do is make sure that you make those mistakes less and less frequently and make wiser choices more and more intentionally, because you want to make sure that your 30s sets you up for a really high quality 40s. So I'm in my 40s, I'm 45 now. And I think the 40s can be a very rich, beautiful season of self-confidence built on 2 decades worth of like hard lessons, right? And you want to like make sure that by your mid to late 30s and 40s, you're starting to taste more and more goodness than badness.
Okay.
Right? The 40s to me is a power decade. And what I mean by power decade is you should feel really the beginnings of the fullness of your power as a person. And by that, I mean like you can move your life towards where you want it to move. You can move a situation to where you want it to move. And it just feels like I really appreciate who I am. I love who I am. And I get the journey that I was on. And I will never make those big mistakes so deliberately again. I love the 40s.
Okay.
And I guess my dream is that post 40s, because there's only a few decades of healthy, productive life that you have after that. I'm guessing that post-40s, I have like maybe 2 good decades, 50s, 60s, to like keep doing work at a certain volume, because like there's no way I'm going to work this hard like late 60s to 70s to 80s, right? Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the 2 decades of like elder work that I get to do.
Elder work.
Elder work. And by elder work, I mean like if I ramp down on the more energy intensive work that you could afford to do when you were younger, you get to ramp up the more, I think, age-friendly work, like sharing back your even deeper wisdoms and insights and skills. I'm privileged to have seen like really wise, good consultants, coaches, religious leaders who are in their 70s, and they are like really, they live in that eldership.
Yeah.
And I think that gives me a vision of where I kind of hope to go one day. Yeah.
That's so nice. It's a lot to look forward to.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
There is.
It's a nice reminder for me, because when you're so sucked into your, like you said,
the turbulent 20s.
The turbulent 20s of self-discovery and mistakes, it's so hard to see anything beyond that.
Yeah.
But it's always nice to know that there's so much more ahead.
There is.
So much more ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my question for you, I think as a 20-something who kind of stumbled upon this self-awareness work, what is one advice you would give to a 20-something to start this work?
I think a really... I'm so mind-oriented. It drives me crazy. I will give you a framework. It's terrible. But for the 20-somethings, okay, Google Simon Sinek's Golden Circle, right? Because I want you to imagine concentric circles, right? Imagine there's a circle called like what I want to do. And then underneath that is how I want to do it. And a lot of your life is going to be, hey, what are you going to do? How do you want to do it? Do you know what to do? Do you know how to do it? And that's the world speaking to you. And that can add a lot of stress to you. Those are not bad questions, but they can be very stressful questions, because if you don't go deeper in, and the next 2 deeper layer questions are actually, why do you want to do the things that you do? And who do you want to be? Like, you're never going to get satisfying answers on the what do I want to do and how do I want to do it if you haven't gone in to explore a little bit about, actually, why does all this matter? Why do I want to do that? And who do I wish to be? Who do I not want to be? And I think that the 20-something can give themselves permission to go into that lovely territory and listen to the honest responses that are inside your soul. You already know what it is that you don't want to do for work or for relationship and all that, because it does not resonate deeply with who you are and why you believe you're in this world. So the sooner a 20-something gets more and more familiar with that, their own authentic answers to who am I, who do I want to be, why does all this matter to me, why does that not matter to me, then the what and how questions just sort of like clarify a little bit more for yourself. Yeah. So that would be my best advice. Just do all sorts of things that help you get clearer and clearer about, oh, this is why it matters to me. Oh, this is who I want to be. And those are 2 great debriefing questions, by the way, for any enjoyable experience you've had. And that's a way of getting to know yourself.
That's awesome. Yeah. For me, prior to coming into CG and really kickstarting properly this work for me, I always thought of myself as somebody who is very introspective. Yeah. I thought a lot about the things that are happening to me. Yeah. But I found that the distinction between introspection and almost self-work is that I am only reinforcing the stories that I want to tell myself. Yeah. But now I'm thinking about how the stories that I hold about myself affect other people, or what other stories I have about other people. Yeah. And I think you touched that a little bit with Yankai as well. Yeah. The whole being aware of how your actions and your words and yourself impact the other. So I would kind of second what you're saying in that if you first know what you want, what you don't want, that almost guides how you act and how you be around others.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if like relationship, right? You don't like a certain quality or a certain personality.
Yeah.
But if you don't know you don't like that, you end up hurting other people.
Yes.
But if you know you don't like that, you can communicate that or you can avoid that properly and healthily. So it's almost like a natural first step that you first have to do. I'm reflecting on myself.
Yes, 20-somethings, you are worth getting to know. So spend some time with yourself, by yourself, because you are a beautiful person who is worth understanding better.